On today's wrestling news, WWE reshoots the SmackDown ending.
The Rock loves Danhausen.
Is Jim Ross coming back to WWE?
We've got an update on Chris Jericho potentially returning to WWE.
Are you ready? Are you ready for the news times? My name is Phil Chambers. I'm joined by Gareth Morgan. He's not hungover today. But first up, WWE SmackDown was last night, obviously. But WWE had to reshoot the ending to SmackDown from when it aired on Netflix to when it aired on USA, because obviously it was filmed over in the UK, so they had the chance to do it. Now, the ending was Nick Aldis kind of came to John Cena outside of the arena, and he's like, I've heard from Brock Lesnar, but before you can find out what he said, in comes Logan Paul, kind of out of nowhere, punches John Cena in the face. John Cena goes down. Logan Paul's like, yeah, I'll see you in Paris, and wanders off. But on the Netflix one, he punches John Cena, but completely misses him. Just kind of whoop, and Cena's like, "Ugh," and goes down. But on the USA one, he kind of comes in from behind Nick Aldis, pushes him out the way, and then pops John Cena right in the face. So they had to reshoot the ending to SmackDown between the two different shows because Logan Paul missed John Cena with a punch. Boxer Logan Paul.
Yeah, boxer Logan Paul. This reminds me, I used to do stage combat years ago, and we do like film and TV combat, and we were always told strictly, if you are going to punch like somebody in film and TV, you should like try and like cut the line off in front of the camera, if that makes sense. So if you have your back to camera and then like the person's in front of you, you can then be miles away from them and do the punch. One of the things that we never do is go side on, because you kind of have to hit them in order for it to look good.
And that was exactly the change. It was side on, and then on the actual one that they put on USA, John Cena was like, you just saw the back of his head. It was like that exact change.
Clearly never been to stage combat school, has he? What's going on here? So it was very funny.
It was quite funny.
Just because I love that there's been a few of those on social media of like the side by sides, and it's just like, okay.
It's quite funny. I mean, these things happen. It's not exactly the end of the world, and they had the ability to reshoot it for America, I guess, but you can't hide these things from the internet.
It's just that the idea of like them finishing it and him walking up going, yeah, I've got it in the can, how good was that, guys? And then going, Logan, come back, buddy. Let's go again. Yeah, very funny, very funny. Speaking of things that are quite funny and weird, we've got a very interesting update / just a little bit of news coming out of the Observer, this week's Observer. So Danhausen, it was explained this week that Danhausen's deal with AEW has been extended due to his time off. I think it's, with AEW. And he's not been used, and he did actually want the contract to end, but they're keeping him on. It's a whole thing right now. So Meltzer has mentioned in the Observer that there are those in WWE that are into that weird old wild gimmick, including Dwayne Johnson, who was a big fan of him when he first started making his name. So who had that on their 2025 bingo card, that Dwayne Johnson is a big fan of Danhausen? Obviously, there's some other people in WWE that we know are big fans of Danhausen, like CM Punk, who's a really good friend of his, but maybe some people in the back also see the potential in the Danhausen character. It is a very like wild and weird, entertaining. You could see it as being a sports entertaining character in WWE. You could see them just making a ton of merch and like money on that merch with that character. I don't know where it slots in, whether it slots in somewhere like NXT or maybe even on the main roster. Like, could just anything could happen with that character. It's very off the wall. But I just did not see Dwayne Johnson being someone who looked at that and thought, yeah, I'll have me some of that in my WWE. That sounds fun.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he's had priors with things like this. Like, he was a big fan of the Hurricane gimmick. That's why he did so much with Gregory Helms. And maybe he likes the goofy side of things on occasion. But yeah, no, I didn't have Danhausen, The Rock being a big fan of the Danhausen on my 2025 bingo card. But you can't have much better people on your side in WWE to potentially open up the doors for you there. So like, if The Rock's saying, I like this guy, that's kind of like a red carpet being rolled out to you, really, isn't it? But the contract situation is what it is. Like, AEW were entirely within their rights to extend it because of time off and things like that, but it's obvious that Danhausen doesn't particularly want to be there, and that AEW doesn't particularly want to use him either. So what's the point other than just keeping him away from WWE, I guess?
That's the point.
That's the point.
It's the major
it's not like
point.
WWE have never done this in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested to see if Danhausen does eventually make the move to WWE. Let us know down in the comments where you think he would fit in, because it is one of those things. I mean, didn't expect Mr. Iguana to get on like WWE Raw and things, and that happened. So Danhausen is not beyond the realm of possibility.
I could see it now. Now you've said that, I could see that link up there. The Mr. Iguana and Danhausen just taking on the world. Give them the belts.
You could have a little evil Danhausen puppet to go with Demonito or whatever it is, Finn Balor's one. You could have a whole array of puppetry characters.
I'm just hearing dollar signs. That's all I'm hearing. That's all I'm hearing.
But while all that's going on, we could even have Jim Ross commentating all these puppet characters. Because there is a bit of rumours about Jim Ross wanting a potential WWE return. Now, he's obviously been dealing with a lot of health issues in AEW, right over there?
Guys, just took me out there. I just thought I could hear his, by God, he's broken in half. It's just the puppets just falling off his hand. And that's all right. It just took me out there.
But yeah, he has been dealing with a lot of health issues in AEW, which is why we've not seen him that much on AEW TV. He was obviously diagnosed with cancer not that long ago, but he is in remission now, which is great. But WrestleVotes have a scoop just saying that Sportskeeda's Dr. Chris Featherston has confirmed that there is active conversations backstage in AEW that Ross could be interested in wrapping up his career in WWE. Now, he went on to say that the contract is set to expire at the end of this month. But Jim Ross is going to be at Forbidden Door, so this could end up being Jim Ross's last AEW pay-per-view that he calls, which is quite interesting. Now, recently on an episode of Grilling JR, his podcast, he did speak about his contract situation, and on that he did say that he intends to stay with AEW and that he's determined to contribute more going forwards, but perhaps that was, I don't know, just talks to see what he could get contract-wise, or maybe he's just changed his mind, or maybe he's just contemplating both options. Who knows? But yeah, this could end up being Jim Ross's last pay-per-view event in AEW. Should he want to do the move, I don't see any reason why WWE in this day and age wouldn't take him back for at least like one more little run on commentary desk, like maybe finish his career at a WrestleMania, calling a main event or something like that. And then obviously he's got a wealth of experience and things that he can do backstage as well, so it's not like it's just the on-air personality kind of thing. So yeah, the wealth of experience and knowledge that Jim Ross brings, I don't see why they wouldn't bring him on for something at least. But yeah, going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out.
Yeah, because over the years, like you said there, and he mentioned it on his own show, that he's had a lot of loyalty towards AEW. I think they helped him like rediscover his love of wrestling and all this kind of stuff. So it's never really been one of those where you thought, he's probably going to go back for one more run. So it just seemed like he was going to be an AEW lifer, if that could be a thing at this point. Like you just thought that that's what was going to happen. Whereas I think a big part of the thinking, I'm just speculating here, of him going back to WWE just for that one last run, I think because it's a different regime now, and there's not a certain person leading. Yeah,
the lack of Vince McMahon is probably quite a big thing to do with this.
They didn't always get along, and I think he's felt disrespected by him over the years, obviously. And I think he'd be revered and treated with the respect that he deserves if he went back now.
It could be one of those things where it like rights some wrongs of the past and sort of finishes the career how he would want it to be finished in WWE kind of thing, without that hanging over it.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm fine either way with this one. It'd be interesting to see what you guys think in the comments, whether you want to see him stick in AEW and just be this special attraction commentator, which has been so far, which is I've really enjoyed. I think it's been a really great way of using him. Just make sure he doesn't get burned out or anything. It just makes those big main event matches and marquee matches feel even more special. And if he goes back to WWE, we've not seen him there for a while, so that'll feel special. And it's all the nostalgia from his time in WWE over the years as well, just all rolled into one for one last run. Either one of those sounds good to me. Something that I'm also a little bit like, it's a return to WWE, but it's one that I'm less kind of excited about if it does happen, I will say, is Chris Jericho potentially going from AEW to WWE. It's been the talk of the town this week. It's been the big story. and the Observer have got in on it as well, and they've mentioned a few things that they've heard, and like just a few little tidbits. So we'll go into them. So Meltzer has written, there's been a lot of talk regarding Jericho, obviously, in the last week, and neither Jericho nor Tony Khan have said anything about this when asked, but they've not denied anything either, so they've not said yay or nay. Jericho's contract is expiring at the end of the year, but there are those in AEW who believe that he's not going to go back, and he will actually start in WWE as a Royal Rumble surprise. So some people in AEW think that he's going to be a Rumble returnee kind of person. The only thing that the Observer have heard from WWE is that they expect him, but keep in mind at this stage of everything, if he's looking to go there or like negotiate with them, he is going to give that impression. He's not going to sit there and be like, I want to stay in AEW for life, because that's going to make WWE go, all right, we're not going to deal with you then. So he's obviously going to like give off the vibes of being open to it, isn't he? Like most people will do in that situation, just to try and like bargain for a better deal in the company that you're already in, or maybe get that big move to somewhere else. That's just what you do. It's good business. They mentioned here in the Observer that they could say that they've heard the same about other AEW stars like over the years that WWE was pretty sure that they were going to get, and some have gone and some have actually stayed. So it is still a little bit open, but for me, all the kind of signs seem to be pointing to that return, all the noises and everything else. It would make sense for it to be the Rumble return. He's that kind of person. Like, he's had so many of those over the years, the big pops, and it's just that big viral moment thing that WWE like right now, and it just fits. I don't know where he fits in WWE as a thing, because he's kind of in that mold of like a CM Punk, where he's the older guy who can still go to a degree, but Punk's kind of doing that right now quite well. So it's, do you just do that on one of the other shows? Are people going to be that excited about it past that initial like pop of his return? Maybe they are. Like, maybe I'm just one of the few people that are just a bit tired of Jericho, even though we've not seen him for a while. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll come around to it as well, because it's Jericho in WWE, which you've not seen properly for a while, apart from like on Broken Skull sessions and things like that. It's a weird one. I feel like this is going to be one of those, when you see it, you're going to know how you feel about it, that kind of deal, if that makes sense.
Yeah. He's been a guy that's reinvented, like, seen the writing on the wall and then reinvented himself quite a lot throughout his career. And this one, like his run, he probably let fall further than any of his other ones he has in the past. Maybe stuck along a little bit too long, kept it going a little bit too long. But it's definitely time for a freshen up for whatever with Chris Jericho, whether it's in AEW or whether it's in WWE. What he's doing now is not working. But it's not like he hasn't reinvented himself 1,000 times before, so it's not like he couldn't do it again. And it's, what version of Chris Jericho do we see in WWE? Does he do like a nostalgia run of going back to all his old gimmicks? Does he do the never, ever be the same again kind of guy?
I think he needs a puppet.
I think he might need a little puppet, a little Ayatollah of rock and roller.
I like it, with a big glam jacket. Oh, I'll be good. Get it done.
But whatever it is, like, you'll get an interesting run from him for a bit at least, just because it'll be new. There'll be new people for him to sort of face up against, whatever the character is. I don't know. He must like have to change it a little bit. It's bizarre that his last match in WWE was at the Greatest Royal Rumble, which is in Saudi Arabia, and now the next one could be at the Royal Rumble, which will be in Saudi Arabia, which is a nice little bookend to his WWE career.
The even greater Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know. I'm intrigued by this one, because, like, just let me know down in the comments below whether you even want to see him back in WWE or not. Like, we were talking about this on WrestleCulture a lot, with WhatCulture Wrestling Podcast on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you get your podcasts.
Get it.
And kind of came to the conclusion that, like, whatever it is, he needs to mix things up. But you could do an easy, like, few months of a nostalgia run before he has to, like, reinvent himself fully, because you just got that whole wealth of history of Chris Jericho to fall back on for a bit until they figure out what it exactly is, the next version. But then he's also done the things where he's like come back and he's cut all his hair and he's that version of Chris Jericho. Like, what is it gonna be? That's the kind of interesting thing. But
Bald Jericho.
But we all came to the conclusion that we assumed he's gonna want to wrestle Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania, because that guy's hot right now. So I'll take a little piece of that.
Or get snapped in half by Bron Breakker.
That'd be good.
A little bit of that.
I'd be into that.
Some of that.
But let us know down in the comments. Do you even want Chris Jericho in WWE? And if you do, what do you want to see him do? Very intrigued by all of this. But that is it. That is the news. Thank you very much for joining us. You can follow us over on the old social medias. You can follow me at Phil My Chambers. And this guy...
Follow me everywhere. I've got so much
Everywhere.
to follow. I've got X at gmorgan04, Instagram at Gareth Morgram, and then if you're into kind of personal training, fitness, all that good stuff, I've also got at fitness.focus.gm, which you can find within that Instagram anyway. And yeah, I'll just give you loads of tips and motivation and inspiration when it comes to life in the gym. I'm also a little bit silly because that's just who I am. I cannot turn that switch off. So yeah, it'll be there too.
There you go. Get muscles, just like me.
Muscles.
Muscles.
Yours are bigger than mine, but I'll get there one day.
One day. Click the video on the screen. Have yourselves a bloody good day.
Click.